I've just given you a small extract from it, and he goes on to say that what we've decided to do, we've decided to put on an exhibition in one of the worst areas of Bilston, Newtown. Well, he got that wrong. Newtown wasn't one of the worst areas of Bilston, it was the worst area. In fact, it was probably the worst area in the Black Country. And he goes on to say, we have hired a shop in that area of Newtown, and we're going to invite people to come along, and we're going to show them what we're trying to do, how we're going to try and show them how to live their lives when they move into these new houses. And the house was actually situated in Oxford Street. And then he went on to say, in an area that's shortly to be cleared of slums. Well, he got that wrong, because in 1957 there was a report about that area by the Sunday Mercury, and those slums were still there. So they hadn't made much progress, had they? But as I say, go and listen to this broadcast, make of it what you will. You may form a different opinion entirely from what I have. It's a matter of individual taste. But it shows the type of thinking that existed in the mid-1940s to what we have today. The other thing I want to mention is the fact that when you go along to this exhibition, you'll see things appertaining to the type of furniture, the type of cutlery, the type of wallpaper they used to use, all things of interest, especially if you're a woman. But what I'm saying to you is this: we have to realise, when you go along to that evening meeting, when they talk about this Dr. Noura, who unfortunately he died in 1945, so he wasn't around to see whether his experiment worked or not. But what did come out of all this, what did come out of his visits to Bilston and his discussions with the council, was a changed attitude to tenants. Because following all that, in 1946, it sparked off a totally different approach to tenants. They brought out the first tenants handbook. Now, I don't know when you moved into a council house, or whether you did or whether you did not. You probably remember those tenants handbooks with all the rigid rules. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can paint your garden gate green with a colour, providing it's green, or the colour that the council recommended. Those rules and regulations, they don't exist today. And one of the reasons they don't exist today is because all this, there's a continuity. Because following that, we then had the creation of tenants groups in Bilston. Bilston was one of the first towns to ever have a tenants group. And from that sprang another part of Black Country history, the establishment of the Tenants Charter. And that was solely a Bilston initiative, started and delivered by Bilston people. And why? Because they wanted a total different approach in housing from what had existed in 1946. What I've just told you about the attitude towards potential tenants, the rules and regulations. They wanted all that changing, so they brought out this Tenants Charter, and here's the original copy. And this is what they asked for: appointment of a tenants representative on a governing body, appointment of regional tenants groups to speak on behalf of tenants, co-option of tenants on local housing committees, police housing on every estate. Remember when we used to have a police house on every estate? We did, you know. Oh, yes. People have forgotten that. Every estate had its own police house. Look what we got today. We can't even say we've got an open police station because half the time it's closed. Mobile health checks on every estate for young and old. And tenants' opinions to be canvassed on every alteration that the local authority that they live under is proposing to make. And those conditions and the terms of that charter now form part of housing policy today. So you see, Bilston, just a town in the middle of the Black Country, it achieved a lot. And that's one of the main things it's achieved. Because every other town in the country now, somehow or some way, they are operating their housing policy in their town or city to that charter. Not all of it. It wasn't all accepted, but the main part of it was. So finally, and I've almost run out of my time, I want to repeat to you the fact of making sure you get information and get along to that exhibition. And one final reminder before I finish. This year is 2015. Does it mean anything to you? Should do. Should do. It's the 50th anniversary of the battle that you people staged and your parents to retain Bilston's independence from Wolverhampton, along with Wednesbury, Willinghall, Tipton and all the other local authorities that were affected. And 2015 is the actual anniversary of the day that we lost that fight. People will tell you, I'm well aware of this, people will tell you that it was not 2015. I know for a fact that people have been passing the odd remark over the last few months saying, you know, old Tom Larkin, he's late 80s and now his mind's going a bit, I think. He's getting his dates mixed up. You got the dates mixed up of when Bilston lost its independence. Well, if they want to think that, and if they want to think that my mind's going a bit fuzzy, fair enough, they're entitled to their opinion. But I'm saying that 2015 is definitely the date we lost that fight. And we need to do something about commemorating the memory of those men and women that fought that fight for 6 long years and only lost it on a technicality. People forget that. So I hope that along with everything else that you take it on board when you go along to that exhibition, I also hope you bear in mind and talk with your neighbours, and if you're members of various history groups, or residents associations and tenant associations, remind them that they need to be doing something about organising a tribute to those people. I think we owe it to them. I've got here a copy of the very, very last gathering before we eventually were swallowed up into Wolverhampton. And there was various speeches made at that party and banquet. And one of the things that came out of it, speaker after speaker stood up and said, we can only hope, having fought so hard for 6 long years, we can only hope that in future, especially on the 50th anniversary, those that are following us, that's us. take the trouble to remind future generations of that campaign that we ran. It's not a lot to ask. And they also ask that they take measures to ensure that the name of Bilston is never lost. And the 50th anniversary of when we lost the fight will give them that opportunity. Well, we've got it now in 2015, and it's up to us and others to do something about it. It's especially up to people, John's listening there, he's taking notes, the local media to do something about it. Whether it's television, whether it's local newspapers, whatever, they have a responsibility to remind this younger generation and the generations to come what that fight was all about. So I managed to get that in. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do the thing that I wanted to do, because what I wanted to do, and I'll come back and do it, because it needs to be done, I want to get a gathering of you ladies, and I want to talk about what was a normal domestic week in the life of a black country housewife. All the cleaning, all the shopping, with no gadgets to help them or anything else. Just what life was like. Washing on a Monday, ironing on a Tuesday, cleaning beds with no cleaners, no washing machines, no fridges. What was life like? We need to record that so that future generations can realise what their family history was all about and what the lives of their grandparents and parents was about. That's what I want to do. So I hope that I'm invited back, and we do that, because we can have a wonderful morning, because we can involve all you ladies, and you can tell us, because you know what life was like. If you were a girl in a family, you had to do your share of chores. You know that. You had to do your share of shopping. And it's a life that's gradually been forgotten. And it's like everything else about our black country history. Yeah, she's telling me, she's winding me up. It's like everything else about our black country history. We're allowing it to be forgotten. And if we're not careful, it'll be gone forever. So let's ensure we do something about it this year to replace some of that lost history, so that it isn't lost. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you remember about going along to that exhibition, and Frank's there, and various other people from the Black Country Military. If you want to ask them questions, they'll all be ready to answer whatever you want answering. Okay, thank you for listening.